Guy, la pregunta es, tú como copresidente de la Conferencia sobre el futuro de Europa, con el tiempo transcurrido, ¿cómo consideras que está la agenda de la transformación federal en Europa?
Thank you very much for the invitation. I hope that it works, yeah, more or less. No, now it works. Normally I don't need one, the micro, because in the Parliament I was always sitting on place number 11. You don't know what place number 11 is, but it's really in the middle. A fantastic acoustic. If I speak, it makes an enormous noise. So that's a very good place to do. But yeah, the conference on the future of Europe is already over a few, more or less a year. So we and in the meanwhile, during that year, we have seen something that has been even more important for Europe than the conference, in my opinion. That's the war in Ukraine. Who have started and who have, in my opinion, as was also one of the conclusions of the conference, showed that this European Union is not fit for purpose, is not ready to survive the 21st century. Look to what is happening. If the Americans have not delivered arms from day one to Ukraine, I think the war was already behind us, and there would be a new autocratic regime and dictatorship in Ukraine. It's because of we have to understand that the world in which we live, since the brutal invasion of Russia in Ukraine, is a totally different world. It's a world what I called of empires. It's not a world of 200 nation states. It's a world of empires that will see a brutal competition between empires like China. China is an empire, it's not a nation, it's in fact a civilization, that's Han. India is not a nation, there are 2,000 nations in India. And at the same time, 20 languages that are used, 20. And at the same time, 4 big religions that are practiced inside India. And it's the biggest democracy. And then you have the US, who is an empire, very clearly. And then Russia, who wants to restore the previous empire, because that's the real agenda, I think, of Putin behind it. So the world of tomorrow is not a world of 196 peaceful nations going all together in the sense of democracy and peace. The world of tomorrow is a world of brutal confrontation between autocratic regimes and democracy, between our values and societies who are under the rule of, can be the communist, the Chinese Communist Party, it can be an autocrat like Putin, it can be tomorrow maybe another autocrat in the world. That will be the, and it's not only a competition on the military, on the battlefield, as now is in Ukraine, it's also a competition on technology, on digital. What will be the standards of tomorrow? What will be allowed tomorrow? Look, as you see how the Chinese are using the digital world to control their citizens from the beginning in the morning until the evening. That is not our way of life like we see it. We want to see the technology as a force of liberation, of freedom, to express ourselves. They see it as a force of controlling people. So the world of tomorrow, that's the world of tomorrow. And the key question, and that is the question that has been answered in the Conference on the Future of Europe, is in such a world, is Europe ready And the answer of all the people in the room during the conference was no. This European Union is not ready. We all believe, but because the citizens said, you know, everybody says, yeah, there are Eurosceptics and Europhiles. I can tell you during the conference, I didn't see the difference between a Eurosceptic and a Europhile. They were all similarly critical towards the European Union. There were those who believe in Europe and those maybe less who don't believe in the future of Europe. But in general, people know exactly that the future of the continent is more European cooperation. People feel that. But they have also the feeling that the European Union, as it works today, between brackets, doesn't fulfill that dream. So there was a huge consensus during this conference between all participants to say, yeah, we believe in Europe, it's clear, but everything what is happening, because during the conference, in the middle of the conference, this war started. I remember that we got our citizens panels in Ireland, in Dublin, at the moment of the entrance of Russian forces on the 24th and the 25th of February last year. So there is a big consensus between people about that. There is also a big consensus, I want to say that to European Federalists, about the nonsense of Brexit and to repeat Brexit in other countries. Brexit has been a very bad thing for Britain and also for us, but it has been a very good thing for the European idea. You know, before Brexit, people said, it will start with the Brits, then the Danish, Dexit, then the Netherlands, Nexit, then even the French will go out, Frexit. You never heard anything about it. Polexit? No, Polexit. The Polish people are the most pro-European people of the whole of Europe in every poll today. I don't talk about the political leaders. I'm talking about the Polish people. So the people have said, what? These Brits are stupid. They are stupid, sorry, to go out. And then now they find an agreement on Northern Ireland, and the argumentation of Rishi Sunak, the new Prime Minister, is, it's very good what we have found for Northern Ireland. It was exactly what the Brits got before the Brexit, that we have found for Northern Ireland. So everybody say, yeah, well, if it is so fantastic for Northern Ireland, why we cannot get back it in Britain and re-enter in the European Union? There is an enormous rejoining movement that's still active in Britain, and I'm pretty sure that in a few decades they could come back, maybe not under the same conditions, I should say, when they come back. We're going to change a few things. But that's the world in which we live. And what we need now to do is to translate these conclusions of the conference into a reform of the Union. And that is a big fight. A big fight, why? Because we have 27 member states. They still believe, yeah, okay, they believe in the European Union. It's not that they don't believe in the European Union, but in their vision of the European Union, that's a patchwork of 27 governments coming together 6-7 times a year in Brussels to do things together, if it works. Like, for example, sanctioning Russia. We are at the 10th, and every time we lose time in the sanctioning of the package. We need a new package and a new package, and every time there is one or two countries blocking the thing because of unanimity, because sanctioning is unanimity. But even when in the treaty there is foreseen that it is not unanimity, like migration, for example, the migration crisis, in the treaty says that migration is qualified majority voting in the Council. Normal majority in the Parliament, qualified majority. Now they have decided, in their wisdom together, that it is so important that they need to do that by unanimity. That means that since 2015, there is a whole package of proposals to tackle this migration crisis, with everything what we see in the Mediterranean. With the new migration policy, Commission has put forward such a package. Parliament supports that package, more or less. And since 7 years, now 8 years, they are trying to find the unanimity between them to find a way out of the migration crisis. And that's the same thing for everything. So there is a huge problem. The citizens want Europe. The citizens want a different European Union that is effective, with no unanimity, effective decision-making policies, and so on. And you have the member states who are reluctant, who are saying, I don't like to give new powers, to give up powers on the national level and to give them to the European Union. That is the main problem we have. And we try to break through with the Parliament by asking for a convention. We will ask in a few months again for a new convention. This will be the second time. We tried with Dominic to have a breakthrough on transnational list, what is another way to make progress with creating a European constituency so that there is a real European democratic debate evolving. That is what we are trying to do and to break through. And my personal feeling is that if we do it not in the coming years with the threat on our borders like Putin, when are we going to do it? So take, for example, European defense. European defense. It's obvious that we need European defense if we see what is happening for the moment. That doesn't mean that we have to give up NATO. Huh? What we need to do is to organize European defense as a part of NATO. Because you have to know, Europe is a really a machine of waste of money on defense. We spent in Europe 250 billion euro on defense with the 27 member states. That's after Brexit, because before Brexit it was even more. It was more than 300 with the Brits. We spent exactly the same amount on defense as the Chinese, Europe. We spent 4 times more than the Russians on defense. But I have not the impression, for the moment, that we spent 4 times more than the Russians. We spend 40% of the Americans on defense in Europe. We can do 10% of the operations of the American army. I don't know, I'm a lawyer, not a mathematician. I don't know nothing about numbers, even when I was Minister of Budget sometimes in the past. But the reality is that we are 3 to 4 times less effective than the Americans on defense. And the reason is simple. We duplicate everything 27 times. We have 27 times strategic air command, 20 tactical this, tactical that, observations, everything duplicated. We have in Europe 130 weapon systems, 130. The Americans have 30 weapon systems. The Chinese 25, the Russians also more or less 25 of 30. We 130. And then if we have to deliver arms to Ukraine, we say, yeah, problem. We want to train them. On what system we have to train them? Because all duplication, duplication, duplication. And I think that we cannot survive the modern world in this competition of empires if we don't change. If we don't create what the founding fathers of the European Union were ready to do, the defense union, you remember that. In the 50s, the first proposal of the founding fathers was not to create a single market. It was to create a defense union. And it was shot down in the French Parliament, in the French National Assembly. Stalin was that. The Korea War was more or less over, so they said it's not necessary anymore. The same for the single market. Everybody talks about the single market. What single market we have today? We have a single market in what? In champagne, in chorizo, to give chorizo, to give something that I like in Spain. In champagne, in chocolate, Belgium, in cars, Germany. There we have a single market. But we have no single market in everything what concerns the future. Capital market, no single market. Digital, no single market. Telecom, no single market. So everything what concerns the future of our economy is not in the single market. There we have still national regulators and so on. So that is at stake. And so we have not a lot of time anymore. It's not that we can say, oh, we're going to continue like that a few times. And by the way, and that's my last thing, all this because I was triggered and inspired by the intervention of my colleagues who are responsible in the budget committee. All this we want to finance with 1% of the European GDP. The superstate Europe. That is what the other says about the superstate. With 1%. Where the Americans have a budget of 25%. Even Switzerland, as confederation, has 15% federal or confederal budget. With 1%, we're gonna do it, and without own resources. No, we like more the contributions of the national member states, with as a consequence that you need the approval of all 27 before you can do whatsoever. We need to change that in a federal way, and that starts with ending unanimity in every of the competence where unanimity is foreseen today. And then the machine can again work, and then we will be effective. Then we will have a future with the European Union, and we will be capable to defend ourselves and defend the interest of our citizens in the world of tomorrow. And that is what we are working on with different groups, with different people. And we count a lot on I have to tell you, on the Spanish presidency, because we think that we have a Spanish government and a Spanish presidency, and also in general. It's not only a question of the majority, but even of the opposition, of a part of the opposition. That is a pro-European spirit. I think even more than in some of the founding fathers, I should say, of the European Union. And so we hope that with the help of the Spanish presidency, we can have this breakthrough, a start of a convention, a start of transnational list, and a start to implement these very important decisions and conclusions that have been taken by the Conference on the Future of Europe. Thank you.